Ted, you are my best friend, and I, like you, could not love you more if you were my own brother. I've admired and respected you for quite some time. I watched you stare at a large customer, demonstrating the courage to stand up for your principles, even if it meant huge financial losses. Your courage was the most important factor in the huge success of your business. But to see you behave like this, how you behave with a woman who loves you unconditionally and whom you love to the point that you risk everything to make her dream come true, not wanting to risk that she might hurt you again your feelings sometime in the future. Well, Ted, I can only say that in this matter, you're a wimp. Am I a weakling? Prove it. I will accept what I did wrong. Would she do the same? Rob turned and headed for the door, his purpose of the visit accomplished. What will Jenny's action plan include? Rob stopped and turned to face me, an expression of surprised disbelief on his face. I was waiting for a simple question, and he seemed to think there were a bunch of simple answers. Rob's last statement was okay. I wasn't going to correct it. He identified what he thought was a specific course of action for me. What I wanted to know was if he, or she, for that matter, had a similar plan of action. In Rob's case, for his sister. Well, yes, to repeat what I already said, Ted, Jen's plan of action is to apologize for the way she behaved with Craig, and she wants to show how much you mean to her every day. Come on, Ted, take this first step. Show Jen how much you love her, man. Go home, grab your wife and your life, and be happy. Rob, is there a recording function on your phone? Yes, of course. Why? Listen, take it out and click on record. Do it. Now there was an expression of outright reluctance on his face, bordering on, what? I would imagine that mocking indignation would be close. Do as I ask you, Rob. You stood up for your sister, presented her case. Yes, I am grateful to you for that. For understanding. So if we want to continue our life together, I can't think of a better mediator than you, Rob, at least in this early period. Rob wasn't looking at me. The conversation took a sharp turn. About him. He understood, rightly, that this could put him in an awkward position. I told him, call me a wimp again and make a backup copy. Wait a minute, Ted. I did it myself. I can't imagine Jenny at all. Oh, okay. So she doesn't know you're here? No. You know she knows. That's not what I'm talking about, Ted. Then what are you saying, my friend? Silence. Silence and pause. I use both to my advantage both in life and in business relationships. Rob also knew what it meant. I used him in negotiations where he was present. This is a period of reflection for those I deal with. Is there a hidden message? Of course there is. So what is the message? Here's the thing. The next time you open your mouth, you better control yourself. Oh, so she didn't give you her blessing to come to me? I asked him condescendingly. No. I mean yes. Well, all right. Yes. Yes. You know that's the case, Ted. I made my point, and he pressed record, putting his phone on the table. It would be best there. So I do not know if I told you that. I don't think I have. Chuck Sanders called me and told me how in the last few weeks before our breakup, Chuck and Susan were in different places all over the city and managed to bump into Jerry Craig and Jenny on their dates or dinners or whatever. You know these details, so I won't repeat it again. Anyway, I don't remember everything we both talked about in the rest of this conversation. I was still stunned by everything that had happened when he called. I remembered something before Chuck ended the conversation. He hoped that we would find our way to each other, that Jenny would apologize for such a stupid trick. Apologize not only to me, but also to him, Susan and others whom she and Craig managed to bump into on their dates. It's all too clear that I wasn't sure about this part of the conversation. Anyway, I've had time to think. I called him back and asked him to refresh my memory of what he had originally said. Susan was there, so if Jenny has any trouble believing what I'm saying, ask her to call Susan. She is more than willing, although she will have to put up with verbal abuse. Anyway, Chuck's initial statement was pretty much what I just said, but he also added that most senior executives have unwritten rules that they follow, that they consider themselves entitled to only verbally apologize when it comes to apologizing without actually owning it, especially if the finger is pointed directly at them. He said they use terms like go ahead and move on as an indication that an apology has been expressed and they never need to revisit the topic again. Never commit to correcting this failure, but make a half-hearted attempt to say that it will not happen again with as few affected parties as they deem necessary. In his opinion, he said that two things are important. First, he had no doubt that Jin was embedded in both this faith and culture. Secondly, he said that if Susan had pulled a similar stunt, he would have accepted nothing more than a written apology to all parties who were affected by her stunt or her actions came into contact. Chuck said that if she meant what she said, she would do the right thing. So Rob, give this message to Jenny. She wants to apologize. It's a great start. There are a lot of rumors and hints around the companies and people we work with, so she will have to give up her job. But if she can fix it, then it will be a good start. Gathering my thoughts, I continued. In return, I need to explain to her what I was wrong about and miss again in our life, where there is no trust now, and why. I really need to admit it. This is my mistake, and it is central to this mess. I miss telling her about the important moments of my adult life. Bad relationship with my mom and dad. I failed to express my deep-rooted fears to the only person I should have trusted with this knowledge, January. I'm not doing this here with you. I will meet face to face when and if the need arises. To be honest, Rob, I do not know where Jen and I will end up, but given the circumstances, this is a step that suits me very well. Feeling the sadness of all this now, I paused, gathered my thoughts before continuing. Damn it, Jen can categorically reject this. Anyway, at least it can provide some closure for both of us if something doesn't work out. Who knows? I nodded, and Rob turned off his phone. She won't like it. Not at all. What Chuck said, and for what it's worth, he's right about all of this. But given that she has made what she believes are quite deep concessions so far, she will view this as further undermining what she believes should be an equal relationship and guilt. So you don't think she should eliminate the pain and embarrassment she caused with her stunt? No. I totally agree with you in the way you explained it, Chuck and Susan's contribution. But I know my sister. I assume she will persist. Well, I think we'll figure it out. I'm going to tell her everything I need to know if she agrees to the plan. So I guess we'll just wait then. Rob looked crestfallen. Enjoy your day, Rob. You came expecting me to explode and reject our conversation, and you leave with more than a glimmer of hope. And I couldn't help but tell him, we're moving forward. I'm not sure if he appreciated the humor, but judging by the wry half-smile, I don't think he missed the irony. I really thought he was right, although as I prepared to explain and expose what was going on in my early life, I was sure that Ginny would not accept my plan. So I did not wait at all, impatiently waiting. Being away from work and relaxing, if that was the case, I talked to my guys. It was postponed and looked more like a set of what if or why don't we try scenarios, an attempt to improve and update the product. I decided that maybe some personal investment in several workshops and seminars on new technological products might not be superfluous, so I signed up for one organized by a major player in the field of virtual hardware and software to assimilate everything from construction, road construction, and engineering design to defense and production line. They are European and global, but the American headquarters is in Texas, so I did not look at where the conference was held, assuming it would be Dallas-Fort Worth. When the invitation came, the venue was Vegas. I told Rob, and he wholeheartedly supported me and asked if there was room for another one of our team. I told him to send those he likes and how many he thinks it will be useful to. I didn't tell them about it. They'll all want to go. Well, I'm not going to point out your job to you. Decide on someone and write them down. Okay, consider it done. Before I leave, have you heard anything from Jenny, Ted? No. Anything else, Rob? No, Ted. No. I could tell from the tone of his voice that he was hoping for more, but I wasn't going to give him false hope. I could feel his sadness. What is. The four of us went to Vegas. One senior supervisor is Brian, a leading expert software developer, Callum, and his new right-hand man, Veronica. I suggested that they feel comfortable enough to sit wherever they want. They don't need to sit with me. The opportunity to contact other specialists in this field was the most appropriate time to do so. Brian had already made up his mind. There were several of his acquaintances with similar backgrounds and experience. Some of the lectures dealt with his leadership role and gave an idea of new verification methods, excellent ones. Callum and Veronica chose to stay in the band. They were not alone. I recognized those who were nearby. I found out that they were from one company or another, and everyone was sitting together. It was a chance to meet and chat with Veronica for the first time. And when the first day came to lunch, The three of us talked and shared the information we had gathered, formed our own ideas, and presented our own criticism. Everything we learned was quite thoughtful and instructive. Brian called it lunchtime. I didn't know where he was because there was an exhibition area at the conference. Boss, did you know that Destin has a counter here? No, Brian. I didn't know. Okay, then I'm just warning you. I recognized a couple of their employees and senior management who were here. I talked to one of their spotters. He said that everything was packed at the last moment. I just thought you should know. Thanks for the warning, Brian. I am grateful to you. I had a feeling that Destin's top management might have meant that Jenny was here too. It wasn't a problem, but I was grateful for the warning, even though I would have to just let things unfold if that were the case. As I said, this is what it is. It was only after all the presentations were completed that she appeared. The four of us were deciding what we were going to do for dinner and after. I didn't have anything planned at all, but I took time off from the whole Vegas thing. Early night seemed to be on the agenda. The others talked about Fremont Street or a lot of things they could do, although the starting point would be the food at our hotel. I could feel her presence being in our group and where they were looking but not seeing her. And then she was there. Brian gathered the others, said we'd all meet at the hotel, and left us. There was a moment when Jenny and Veronica were looking at each other, and I had to hide the smile that appeared on my face. Hi, Jenny. Hello to you too, Ted. I thought, well, this is your show, Jenny, and I didn't say anything. It was an awkward moment, but she made some effort to be here, so I'll leave her a level of control over the current situation. Ted, how do you feel about us getting together tonight and maybe discussing everything? You know, just us. Here. In Vegas. Neutral territory. Nothing bothers us. Only if you want it, Ted. No pressure at all. So, in order to develop a plan for each of us? For a second, I noticed a distinct grimace appear on Jenny's face before she realized my hard stare, and she disappeared. Yes, Ted, yes. In order to be able to express it, without the anger overwhelming both of us, and without the added drama. Now she stood in silent hope. The expectation was completely reflected on her face. The hands are clasped together. The fingers are intertwined, and one thumb on top of the other is nervously rubbing the other. Her slightly hunched shoulders indicated a nervousness in her that I had never seen before. I think we should do it. In my hotel or in yours. As it turned out, we weren't that far apart, and since it didn't bother me at all, we decided to meet at her place. So, 2 hours later, we met in one of the guest bars of her hotel. Okay, Jen, feel free to start. She started the sentence 3 times before she uttered a single word, and when she did, she was immediately interrupted by the waitress, who asked us to order drinks. The disappointment of that moment finally got her started. I listened to your words that you recorded on Rob's cell phone. He sent the recording to me. Oh, he not only sent this to me, he told me about what I did with my trick, how I managed to hurt and embarrass you, him, and all those around us. He told me unequivocally that in the near future I could count on him and Diana for one thing and only one thing. Not being around at all for anything I might need them for. He'll reconsider depending on how I handle the situation and that I need to figure out my actions and stop being so narcissistic. We didn't talk, and one day when I called Diana, she asked me if I had completed the task that Rob or you had given me, and when I hesitated, she hung up. The first and second time I listened to your recording, I almost had a stroke. I raged and raged again. I was screaming. I called you every dirty word I could think of, cursed you in every possible way. But I really only listened to the parts where you mentioned my failures, the part where I disappointed everyone, how I was consumed by faith and culture, even if it was wrong. Jenny paused. This must be a new general trend for both of us. Her eyes started to water, still drilling a hole in the floor 6 feet from where she was sitting. Gathering my thoughts, giving them some semblance, I suppose. She had been very clear and concise so far, but the following words were spoken softly, slowly, intentionally. I listened to what you said about your young life and how this past has influenced your present, our preliminary message. I listened to you apologizing for not telling me about what happened earlier, that it was your fault, that you needed to explain it to me and provide some closure, and also that you were to blame for this failure. I played this record over and over until I realized that it wasn't just what you said, but the way you said it. With true faith in what you said, and what you felt. Almost everything that mattered was also related to what was said. But I'm right, isn't it true? There was love in what you said, too? Yes, but she had to be there, Jenny. It just doesn't go away. He finds himself in the shadows, lurking in the background. But if it were true and honest in the first place, it would always be there. Yes. Looking at each other, we both forced a nervous smile. Can I ask you a big favor? Of course. Can we go up to my room? I really need to show you something. So we set off. She quickly went to her tablet and sat down, asking me to pull up a chair while she opened the file. She grabbed her cell phone, selected a number, dialed it, and turned on the speakerphone. Rob, it's me. Please don't hang up on me. Hey, Jen, sis. You know what I said and what it takes, so I'm not going to interrupt you. So you got my letter? We all did it, Jen. I've talked to most of the people you've sent, and they've all been very supportive of me. You need to read the emails in the mail. They all sent you one at a time. It took a lot to stand up in front of your team and tell them in person. Let me tell you that I'm proud of you for doing this. Diana cried a little because of all this. But I think the million-dollar question is, how did Ted take it? Rob, Ted is here, but I didn't show it to him. This is the next step. Okay, I won't keep you. Show him now and good luck. We'll talk later. Bye, sis. She did it. All of it. I explained all this nonsense to everyone. She called it a heartless, destructive, mistaken act, and there was no doubt about the sincerity of her apology. She explained the need to admit your mistakes and not take into account the wrong decisions and the people who were negatively affected by it. She used the information Chuck Sanders told me about, a right she believes is linked to her position, management culture, and the unwritten code she grew up with in her professional life and which she never doubted. She explained that the contents of the letter might not be liked by her superiors, but it was something she was willing to risk and deal with if it became necessary. She apologized. She asked, did not demand, our forgiveness, if at all possible at any time in the future. The letter was modest and honest. She ended her letter by writing that she had a new goal that she was striving for. Now every morning I wake up with the desire to be the best person I can be. I sat smiling at her letter. I only had to read it once. I didn't have to look at her to know that she was waiting for my answer. Positive expectation. A way forward that would help us both heal, or worse, even if the reconciliation of our marriage did not take place, then at least it would be a sign that her apology had started moving in the right direction. I think we still have a little trip ahead of us. Jen, this is a great start that I can't or won't ignore. I paused. He pulled her to him. I noticed an insistent, searching look on her face, but a brighter gleam in her eyes, which had been missing for a while. To solve the issues or not, it was my turn. Call your brother. Tell him that I read your letter. Besides, I don't need his help anymore. He'll understand what I mean. And much quieter, I added. Now let's get comfortable because, honey, I have a story for you.